Welcome back to another exciting chemistry lesson. In this lesson, we are going to look at the periodic table to determine the charge of each atom in a particular group on the periodic table. And we are talking about the main groups, which is the representative element, and that is groups A. And we already learned that the group number in front of the letter A represents the number of valence electron. And we also learned that atoms will lose or gain or share their valence electron to have the same electron configuration as the nearby noble gas. So what we notice the pattern, that is all the atoms in group 1A, they have one valence electron, so therefore they're going to lose that one outermost shell. And what they have in the end is the electron configuration of the previous noble gas. And in group 2A, you will lose 2 electrons. 3A, you will lose 3 electrons. So they will lose their outermost electron as well as their outermost shell. So the inner shell becomes the outermost shell. And then on the other side, where we have group 5A to 7A, we would have gaining of electron to have the same electron configuration as the nearby noble gas. So for example, all the atoms in group 5A would gain 3 electrons, okay? And group 6A would gain 2 electrons, and 7A would gain 1 electron. When atoms have gained or lost their electron, no longer they are neutral atoms, rather they become ions. And ions are basically atoms that have lost or gained electron. So in this case, we are going to look at how to write ions for all the atoms in group A. So for example, all the atoms in group A, because they lost 1 electron, they are going to have a positive charge. Okay? So all this in group A will have 1 positive. For atoms in group 2A, they will lose 2 electrons, so therefore they will have a 2 plus. So the charge, which is right after the number, okay? And then for group 3A, they would have 3 plus. Now on this side, we have group 5A. In this case, they gain electrons, so they are going to gain the negative electron, okay? So they have a 3 minus. Where in group 6A, they would have a 2 minus because they only gain 2 electrons. So again, don't think of the negative charge as losing electron, rather they are gaining electron because the charge of electron are negative. When an atom loses electron, it loses that negative electron, so the inner proton now has that positive charge still there. So that's why they have a positive charge. Now over here we have fluorine gaining 1, so we have minus. And of course when we have 1 plus or 1 minus, we don't put the 1 there, okay? Now let's go back down here. Let's do some example problem. So positive monatomic. Mono is a prefix for 1. In this case, 1 atoms, ions, okay? And that's what we're looking at. Atoms on the periodic table become ions. They lose electron to have the same electron configuration as the nearby noble gas, which is in group 8A. And the number in front of the positive charge indicate how many valence electrons are lost. So for example, in this case, we have H plus. Well, we know that number 1 is there, so we have lost 1 electron. And for Be2 plus, we know that number 2 is there, it lost 2 electron. And for aluminum 3 plus, it lost 3 electron, okay? And then, of course, on the other side, when we have negative monatomic ions. So mono is a prefix for 1, okay? 1 atoms. In this case, when we have a negative ions, it shows that atoms has gained electron from nearby atoms to have the same electron configuration as the noble gas. It's the same goal, but just different approach, okay? In this case, the number in front of the negative charge indicate how many electrons have gained, or in this case, are gained from other atoms. So we have Cl minus, that is 1 in front of it, so we have gained 1 electron. In this case right here, O2 minus, it has gained 2 electrons, and 3 minus, it has gained 3 electrons. So let's go do another problem. In this case, we have the same statement, right? And in this case, plus, so it's the 1 electron loss. Calcium 2 plus is 2 electron loss. And boron 3 plus, so it's 3 electron loss. And in later lesson, we're going to learn the naming of these ions as well. Now let's continue. Fluorine minus, that's 1 electron gain. Okay, sulfur 2 minus has gained 2 electron, and phosphorus, in this case with a 3 minus, is called phosphide. So therefore, it has gained 3 electrons. So that's how we use a periodic table to determine the chemical formula for any monoatomic ions that are in group A's on the periodic table. And as always, if you have any question, take a picture of your work, put in a form, and we will help you there. And lastly, we will see you next time on another exciting chemistry lesson.